Okay, now that I finally finished up that last top 10, I really should try making something outside the countdown bubble. Oh, I know! I'll make a commentary! On a countdown! Okay, here's one made by— ah, shit! So, a little backstory. Nihilistic Snake, originally called Sloth Boy, made several commentaries that, to be honest, weren't very good. Recently, he moved on to making countdowns, where his most recent one being, surprise surprise, not really good. In fact, to be honest, I'm willing to say this might be one of the worst countdowns I've ever seen that wasn't made by some young kid. Yes, even taking into account all the bad countdown makers prior. To add salt to this open wound, the video in question is an overrated games list, which all have one thing in common, and that they're all terrible. So yeah, this'll be fun.
Welcome to another Top 10. This Top 10 is going to be on a very cliched premise, I know, but I felt like I should have made this list at some point in my life.
If the subject of this video is so cliche, then just use one that's less overdone. Especially with a topic as overdone and, well, hated as this one. Also call this a nitpick, but of all the angles to view yourself, why place it upwards towards the ceiling and have the light shine into the camera? If you're going to do something like this, then just put the camera level to where you're sitting or standing. Basically what I'm trying to say is that there's no benefit in knowing that there's a ceiling above your head, so pick a better angle, you scrub.
Oh, and to all potential fantards, just because a game is overrated doesn't mean it's bad.
And okay, pitchfork wielders, just because a game's overrated doesn't mean it's a bad game.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. Okay, I know a number transition shouldn't bother me too much, but, well, the music you use just gets old after hearing it like once, so having to hear it 10 times is a pain in and of itself. And also, your waifu is trash. This is an objective fact that you will just have to realize. Moving on.
Killzone 2 was said to have stepped up from Killzone 1, fixing all of its flaws. I wouldn't say that at all. Killzone 2 was slightly better.
You stumbled over that line, yet you didn't feel like cutting that mistake out. I mean, unless of course you're using the default sound recorder that, let's be honest, no one in their right mind ever uses. I mean, really, you could have just cut out the audio that you don't want, or just re-record the line entirely. And since throughout this video you didn't, well, you're lazy. Simple as that. Also, watermarks on the footage, because there's nowhere else on YouTube that you could have found the clip for this game.
I get why the series exists, to compete with Halo.
You know, speaking about Halo, I noticed that at no point did you even bring up the multiplayer in Killzone 2, which is usually the reason why most people praised FPSs that came out at the time. By ignoring this, you possibly ignored what people praised about this game and, in turn, ignored what would have made it overrated, had it been nothing special. I know this is hypothetical, but why not talk about one of the major features of this game?
Number 9, Kingdom Hearts. F these games. In fact, I'm putting all of them at the number 9 spot. Moving on.
Wait, what? You not only put an entire franchise in one entry, you didn't even have the decency to explain why you thought these games were overrated, besides—
F these games.
Isn't the whole point of these overrated games lists to point out how much unwarranted praise each game in question gets? Even if this was meant to be a joke, well, you kinda suck at humor. So really, this could have been white noise for all I care.
Now I know what you're gonna say. How can I hate Oblivion? It's the best game ever. Well, no, it's not. I mean, sure, the game is fun, but as an RPG, it just doesn't make the cut as an awesome game, even at the time of its release. The graphics are shit, even for a PS3 and 360 game. Its combat system is floaty and inconsequential, and its third-person perspective is so bonkers.
Oh, so all the improvements made over Morrowind, and the fact that it was one of the few Western RPGs worth playing at the time, should be ignored. Okay. Also, you neglected to bring out the PC version of Oblivion, which has more updates than the console version, and has mod support to help out with the visual problems that you complained about.
I know it's unfair to say Skyrim was far better, but I mean, it kinda was. It pretty much took all of Oblivion's problems and rectified them.
Oh, you mean like taking out the ability to start the game off as a specific class, and where you have to grind for several hours before you're good at anything? Yeah, what an improvement. Also, quick question, why are the graphics even a factor at all? Especially when most of the games on this list are older and you compare them to games that are much newer. And to shoot down the argument for graphics for the rest of the list, graphics don't really matter for older games, unless you're looking at the games at the time. But if you're looking at it from a modern perspective, then it's how the visuals hold up years later, which most of these games do. So what's the point about bringing up graphics multiple times on this list?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
I've noticed this throughout the video, but Snake here doesn't seem to show where people are, overrating each of these games in question. Like, I don't know, a biased review or a forum filled with people who just keep mindlessly praising it. I mean, screen capping is possible regardless of what editing software you're using. This also includes Movie Maker. Speaking of which, the editing is at its most lazy here. You're just showing one clip of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with little to no editing on your part. I mean, here you're comparing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3. Wouldn't it make sense to show gameplay from both games to compare them? As for your points, well...
Now, you're free to like these games on a subjective standpoint, like always, but objectively speaking here, these type of games are evolutionary, as in they get better with each installment.
Melee to Brawl. Your argument is invalid. Besides, when most people are complaining about fighting game sequels, it's mostly because the devs are dumbing down or changing mechanics to pander to a wider audience, and at worst, possibly killing off its ability to be played on a competitive level.
Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Fuck this game.
Portable Ops kinda goes against the whole overrated thing, since of all the times I hear about Metal Gear, which is all the time mind you, I never hear about this game at all. It doesn't help that Kojima, as well as Konami, never really felt the need to have people remember this game, what with it not being included in the HD collections. Yeah, it has a positive score on Metacritic, but Metacritic is a very questionable site, especially with the user reviews. Now, Snake here could have pointed out how all those review scores were just for the novelty of the Metal Gear experience on a handheld, and that Peace Walker killed off said novelty. But instead we get...
MGS Portable Ops, however, takes that legacy, masturbates all over it, and princes around like it's lead shit in the shit parade.
Which doesn't really make the game overrated as much as a game that you hate but other people like.
Oh, I went there.
Look guys, look how edgy and original I am. Am I cool yet? Seriously though, Grand Theft Auto 5 is the Final Fantasy VII of the last few years. Hipsters hate on it just to stick out from the crowd, along with the other hundreds of people who also don't like the same game.
But at the time, Grand Theft Auto 5 got immense acclaim for months on end, and I was sitting here estranged to the hype. Perfect scores everywhere even. I even heard someone say it was the golden standard for open world adventures.
Wait, a game that makes several technical leaps that games prior never made? Pfft, that's totally not worth acknowledging. 5.6 out of 10 for you, Rockstar. Just make Saints Row next time. Just out of curiosity, what did lead Grand Theft Auto 5 to getting all those perfect scores? If you say, showed a few reviews and then refuted the common points with the flaws of Grand Theft Auto 5, I'd at least see where you're coming from. Cause all I'm left with is, oh, people like this and I don't like this as much. Look how overrated it is!
Batman Arkham City. Man, I can hear the death threats being typed into the comic box already.
Really? Look, I understand that your script or glorified ad-libbing is garbage, but at least have some respect for the people commenting on this trash.
Arkham City may have been fun, but now it doesn't hold up. The world is too big.
Dude, that's what you get when playing a sandbox. Do you just go into a bar and then complain that there's too much alcohol? Not to mention, thanks to the grappling hook and cape combo, you can glide across the city pretty fast.
The campaign is too confusing, and the combat aspect progressively shortens as the game goes on. How is that even considered okay? Batman is supposed to be stopping criminals. Why give us so little towards the end?
Maybe because Batman is going after the major villains and not their mooks. As well as the story just naturally coming to its conclusion, so the fights would be more focused on a few foes near the end. Besides, if you want to fight more random enemies, then just do the side quests or the Riddler challenges.
This game doesn't even rate to modern action adventures of this current day, or even the game's following year. Take off your fanboy goggles, people. There is better stuff. Perfect Dark isn't better than Black Ops 2, and Morrowind isn't better than Fallout New Vegas. That's just the cold hard truth. So the next person to tell me that Dark Souls 2 sucks, and that they'd rather play Arkham City because it's in quotes, better, is getting a battering to the face.
What the hell do any of those games have in common? Granted, Perfect Dark and Black Ops 2 are both FPSs, as well as Morrowind and New Vegas both being Western RPGs, but when all said and done, you're comparing apples to oranges. Hell, you're not even comparing a retro game and a modern game in this segment. And finally, what do Dark Souls 2 and Arkham City even have in common to make them comparable? Jeez, the broken logic in this video is making my brain hurt.
Ooh, we just finished the second entry. Now, you know what's next. If that didn't piss you off...
Trust me, I'm pissed off, but it ain't because of your choices on the list.
Well, my number one certainly will. Prepare yourselves, people.
Oh my god, that Ray face. Guys, help! I need an adult!
I am the adult.
Ah!
The number one most overrated game ever is easily Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Really? Really? Ocarina of Time is people's go-to game for being considered overrated.
For whatever reason, Ocarina of Time has gained an undeserved name for being one of the coolest things to hate in recent years. A large chunk of onlookers often make snaps about it being outdated or the most overrated thing in fucking forever.
Even taking into account all the fans that tend to overpraise it, that still doesn't make your points more valid, especially since what's brought up later is so bad, it makes Ocarina more deserving of the praise.
So this is it, huh, folks? This is really what people consider the best game ever made?
Well, it's not a bad game, but you'll still be a dick about it. That's nice. Hell, I made a similar comment in a joke video, and I came off as less of an ass than you. How does that even work? You can say this game isn't bad all you want, but with that attitude, it really won't matter all that much in the long run.
This game is far from the best game ever. Even at the time of its release, I wouldn't think so. I think it's because critics are so grossly biased towards anything Mario and Zelda related that they'll receive universal acclaim for literally making a game about Mario picking his nose or Zelda dealing with menstrual cycles.
Hence why there are no other Nintendo games on this list. I'm not saying that a segment on a Mario game would make this list good, but at least the awfulness will be consistent throughout the entire video.
Granted, I've played this a long time ago, but that's not an excuse. A good game will always be impressionable throughout anything. Objectively, this game is nothing but a retro game. Open world games like Bloodborne, Metal Gear 5, and even Witcher 3 are all objectively and subjectively better. They are all better looking, they have better combat systems, better overworlds, and better stories.
Wow, you made a massive contradiction in less than a minute. I'm actually impressed. But seriously, you're comparing a game that released in 1998 to 3 games that came out last year. 2 of which have taken ideas from Ocarina of Time when it comes to their combat system. The only thing you've proven here is that you're a colossal graphics whore that can't appreciate a game unless it came out yesterday and it's running on the most powerful engine made by man. You know what? To hell with this countdown. The 11th circle specifically. Final thoughts? Fuck this list. The end. This video was awful, and even bordering on unwatchable. Is it possible to make an overrated games list and not be a hack? Well, no. Mostly because what's considered overrated differs from person to person, unlike a video with an easier point to pin down, like hated levels or least favorite boss fights. Also, my god, the editing throughout this entire video was just awful. And before you blame Windows Movie Maker, just letting you know, there are plenty of countdowns online that are made in Movie Maker that look much better than this. Showing just one clip for an entire segment, especially when you're talking about more than one game, is just lazy. Combine this with no screenshots of forums or reviews, and I'm left wondering if you're even telling the truth about each entry. When I'm showing more facts than the presenter, that's a sign there's something wrong. Finally, Nihilistic Snake, if you watch this far, one thing I'd seriously recommend is to look at other countdown makers to see what made them good to begin with. And choose a better topic next time, whether it be for its originality or putting your own spin on it, like, say, favorite boss battles. Whether you follow this up with a better countdown will be up to you. That said, this is the Renegade Master, signing out.